Exhibit that we would like to mark is the direct testimony of Crystal Hepp, which we would like to mark as LR Exhibit 18. The second exhibit would be the direct testimony of Dawn Hepp, which we would like to mark as LR Exhibit 19. The next exhibit we would like to mark is the direct testimony of Ann Wright, which has been marked as LR Exhibit 20. The next exhibit we would like to mark is the direct testimony of Chris Zeman, which we would like to mark as LR Exhibit 21. And then the last one would be the direct testimony of Aaron Bowes, which we would like to mark as LR Exhibit 22.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and ask my questions first, and then Mr. Agronoff will. So if you'll turn to Ms. Dawn
Hepp. The F is silent.
Okay, Ms. Dawn Hepp's testimony. Is Ms. Hepp's property within the project area? And I'm looking at page 2, lines 5 and 6 specifically.
Yes, it is. It's within,
I mean, it says our home and property are located near a number of turbine sites, but I'm not sure if our home is within the project area.
Within the boundaries of the project area.
Yes.
I mean, she's here. She says yes. Do you want to put her on the stand and ask that?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're here, why don't you?
Just go ahead. So I will present the witness with LR Exhibit 19 then. She can use if she needs it.
Okay.
Just have a seat.
Just so the record is clear, exhibits 18 through 22 have been marked as you have indicated. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the whole truth? You may be seated. And then I just have a few questions for you. So if you'll turn to page 2 of your testimony, and lines 5 through 6, my question is your property within the project area?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and then I'm looking at question 7. I know you have a map attached to this, but the map that I printed out wasn't in color. So with regard to question 7, are some of these sightings within the project area, or are all of the sightings of these bald eagle nests within the project area?
Of the nest that I seen, one is in approximately the center of the project area.
Okay, and the others are not?
The others are outside the project border.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Does anyone have any questions based on my view? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hepp. You can step down. Okay, so any objections to Ms. Dawn Hepp's testimony being admitted? That's exhibit 19. Okay, that one is admitted. And then, one moment. With Mr. Zeman's testimony,
He is here too.
okay.
I'd like to ask those questions.
Sure.
It's his lucky day. He didn't have to come, and he did anyway. This is what he gets.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, you may be seated. And Mr. Zeman, I just have one question. In lines 7 through 8, and Again, I just want to clarify that your home is within the project area.
No, it's just outside the project area.
Okay. Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just assumed no one else had any questions.
And Your Honor, just for the record, for LR 18 through 22, I don't expect any cross-examination as I've indicated to Ray, not waiving any arguments with respect to the accuracy of any of the testimony or the documents, but I don't have any cross-examination for the witnesses.
Thank you, Mr. Karam. I believe you indicated that via email. Any objections to LR 21 being admitted? Okay, so LR 21 is admitted. And then I just have a similar question for Ms. Wright.
She's not here.
Okay, is Ms. Wright's property within the project area?
Don't know.
Not for positive. She's over in the Thompson Township, I believe she is.
Okay. I don't know the answer to that question.
Can we maybe find out the
Mhm.
answer
Yep.
at some
Sure.
point?
Yeah, we can find
Okay.
out.
With that, with just that clarification pending, are we okay with submitting this to the record, this testimony? Okay,
What form would you like us to provide that information?
just verbally
Okay.
on the record,
Okay,
whenever you have it
sure.
during this hearing. Okay. LR,
If they go off the
is this
record,
20,
then
LR
snap.
20
And
is
then,
admitted.
When they go back on, you put it again.
And with respect to Crystal Heft, is she here?
She's not, no. But Dawn is her mother-in-law, so I'm betting that she would know the answer. If you're gonna ask where she lives.
I want to know whether or not she resides within the project area.
She just stepped out to try to contact Ms. Wright, I
Oh,
believe.
okay. Okay. Would you go ask her to come back in?
And then similarly, I'd like to know whether or not the eagles that are discussed in her testimony,
They wanna know
whether those were
Crystal lives in the
observed
project area.
within the project area.
She is on the
Yeah,
project.
now that information you can see in the testimony itself because of the map. The map will show you the locations of all the sightings that are described in her testimony. So if we're looking at Crystal Hepp's testimony, Exhibit G shows you where the eagles were seen that Crystal personally saw. And they're denoted by the X's on that map. And you'll see that there's one X just outside of the boundary of the project area, where you see that number, looks like a 6 there. And then the rest of the X's are located within the boundary of the project area. And then Crystal Hepp also did a compilation, which you will see is marked as Exhibit H of her testimony, which shows the locations of the eagle sightings and the eagle nest sightings of all of our witnesses that she compiled using the maps that are attached to everybody else's testimony.
And then specifically, how are they denoted? Is it the dots?
Yes, on Exhibit H of Crystal Hepp's testimony, the black dots signify the locations at which one or more eagles were seen on one occasion. The circles that have black dots in them are locations of eagle nests. And then the circles without any black dots in them are areas in which multiple eagles are seen over a period of time. And all of that, all of those sightings that are noted on Exhibit H of Crystal Hepp's testimony are described specifically in the testimony of the other persons who are testifying for us.
So with respect to Exhibit H, that's just a compilation without any specific identification of any of the specific witnesses who have provided these inputs.
Right. And if you go to the specific descriptions in the other witnesses' testimony, you can look at the maps that they attached with their eagle sightings and match it to what Crystal Hepp put in her summary map. Is Crystal
Any
located
additional
inside
questions
of
of
the
council?
documentary?
She was in the original project and is now on the line.
Okay, she's on the line, okay.
Mhm.
You want to put this on the record?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, why don't you just go back up there? I think you're still under oath, is that right? Or you can just say it from here, is that okay?
And she can say it from here,
Yeah.
as though she's testifying.
Yeah.
The original map, she was within the boundary line, and now as they've shrunk the boundary line, she is on the edge of it.
Adjacent, abutting, or just
Abutting.
adjacent to?
She is butting, the line comes down on the road in front of their house, but stops.
So she is right on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Did you check on Ann, right?
And right now I
Or
am.
you're trying, okay.
Any objection to the admission of LR Exhibit 18? There being none, LR Exhibit 18 shall be admitted as part of the record at this time. With respect to LR Exhibit 22, are there any objections to the admission of that particular exhibit?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I did have a clarifying question with respect to Mrs. Hepp's location of her residence. Is it on the line, or, and I wasn't sure if it was on the line within the project footprint, or out on the line outside the project footprint. I was trying to get clarification.
I believe it would be on the line just outside of the footprint. It would be adjacent to the footprint of the project area.
It's not what I thought I heard before. I thought you said it abutted.
You want
Oh,
to,
that's-
can I look at the map? May I look at the map?
Sure.
And you're asking about Crystal's, not Dawn's, correct? Okay.
Mr. Cohen, what was your question specific to?
The last one we were talking about.
Okay.
Apologize.
You can look at that map or the map. I thought so. Next one down.
Okay. So may I approach and show you on the map? You can,
You can, yes.
I can.
Please go forward. And let's, for the record's clarity, if you can please identify what it is that you're looking at.
I'm looking at the exact location of Crystal Hudson.
But what is the document that you're looking at?
The document is the project area turbine location map of transportation system form of it.
Mr. Van Clay, has that been marked previously as an exhibit?
Show me what you're looking at. Yes, she is looking at Crystal Hep's testimony, Exhibit G.
Please go forward. Okay, with respect to that document,
The first one is that black X right there, and this is the project order. So within the project, but right here on the line.
so again, you're stating that she resides exactly on the line. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Ann Wright is within the project.
And resides in the project area.
Resides within the project.
Mr. Cohen, do you have any further?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, I believe I was just in the process of asking whether there were any objections to LR Exhibit 22, which is the testimony of Mr. Bose. Is there any objection? Hearing none, LR Exhibit 22 shall be admitted as part of the record at this time. And now, Mr. Mayor, with respect to Mr. Steens.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before calling Mr. Staines to the stand, would you like Mr. Cole to make an appearance on this record, though we did file an notice of appearance on October 29th?
Certainly couldn't hurt since he's here now.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. I'm William Cole. I'm an Assistant Attorney General, and I am representing Mr. Staines in the Department of Transportation.
Thank you. And just to make it official, if you could please give your address.
It's the transportation section, 150 East Gay Street, 22nd floor, Columbus, Ohio, 43215.
Thank you.
And staff calls John Staines as its witness.
Okay, and before we actually begin with Mr. Staines, if I could just seek a point of clarification, Mr. Cole, with respect to your participation in this proceeding today. Is it solely limited for the purposes of providing the direct testimony of Mr. Stain and not for the purposes of participating in this proceeding in any other
Your
purpose?
Honor, I was tasked with representing him, making objections to any improper questions that I feel. I don't anticipate asking Mr. Staines any questions unless perhaps to clarify a statement that he might make. That's about it.
But beyond Mr. Staines' testimony, you are not participating in this proceeding in
That-
any capacity?
That is correct.
Thank you. Please come forward. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Please be seated. Please proceed.
Thank you. Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
John Staines, John Stains.
By whom are you employed and what are your responsibilities?
I'm employed by the Ohio Department of Transportation as a transportation engineer. My responsibilities with the Office of Aviation include administration of the Ohio Airport Grant Program, Airport Inspection Program, and administration of the Ohio Airport Protection Program.
Your Honor, I'd like to have marked as Staff Exhibit 3, the direct testimony pre-filed by Mr. Staines. I've placed a copy in front of the witness and Your Honors and the reporter.
Shall be so marked.
Thank you. Mr. Staines, do you have that document before you?
Yes, I do.
And what is that document?
This is the pre-filed testimony that is filed on my behalf.
And was this testimony prepared by you or under your direction?
Yes, it was.
Do you have any changes, corrections, or additions to make to that?
I do not.
And if I were to ask you the questions, would your answers be the same as they are in your pre-filed testimony?
Yes.
And Your Honor, I would also like to have marked as Staff Exhibit 4 an Ohio Department of Transportation letter dated September 27th, 2019.
Shall be so marked.
Do you not have a copy? I thought I provided two. You have it?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. And do you recognize this document, Mr. Staines?
Yes, I do.
And did you write this letter?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. I would submit Staff Exhibit 3 into the record and Staff Exhibit 4 subject to cross-examination.
Thank you. Mr. Stinson or Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just for clarity, is Mayor or Mr. Cole making objections?
What was the question?
Which of counsel, whether it be yourself or Mr. Cole, will be the sole counsel for the purposes of raising objections?
Your Honor, it was my understanding that staff, as required by 490610, as part of the Power Siting Board laws, is required to consult with the Ohio Department of Transportation. So as part of that duty, I was putting him on as a staff witness. Mr. Cole is representing him on behalf of his position at ODOT as his attorney and his employment.
For purposes of this proceeding and what we're here today for, which of the two of you will be raising objections? Okay.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Staines. You have in front of you Staff Exhibit number 3.
Yes, I do.
And that is your pre-filed testimony in this case, correct?
That's correct.
Your Honor, is your microphone Or-
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
You started working at ODOT in 2006, correct?
Correct.
And before you joined the Office of Aviation, you worked with the Office of Maintenance Administration?
That's correct.
Before you worked in the Office of Aviation, you didn't have any involvement in aeronautical issues?
No.
And before you worked with the Office of Aviation, you didn't have any duties examining potential obstructions to navigable airspace?
No.
You're not a pilot?
No.
You haven't worked as an air traffic controller?
No.
If you go to page 1 of your testimony, on lines 16 through 17, you indicate that you administer the department's airspace protection program. Do you see that?
Yes, I did.
What is the airspace protection program?
The Ohio Revised Code outlines duties that are assigned to the department to permit tall structures that impact navigable airspace.
As part of that program, the ODOT issue permits to entities that want to construct large structures.
Yes.
And also as part of that process, ODOT coordinates with the Ohio Power Siting Board with respect to projects that may involve the construction of large structures.
As part of the program, we issued determinations to the Ohio Power Siting Board.
And your involvement in this case involves the determinations that you issued in this particular case.
Yes.
On pages 3 and 4 of your testimony, you discuss total annual economic output of the Seneca County Airport, the Sandusky County Airport, and the Fostoria Metropolitan Airport. See that?
Yes.
You haven't performed any analysis to determine whether wind turbines in this case would impact the annual economic output of these airports?
No, I have not.
You haven't done any independent analysis to determine the number of operations in these airports, determine how many operations these airports would either gain or lose due to the Republic Wind project being constructed.
I only reported the most recent data available.
Right, so you don't have any independent analysis indicating how many operations would be lost due to the Republic Wind project at these airports?
No.
And just so that we can be clear, is your analysis that's discussed in lines 9 and 10 on page 4 relative to all of the airports that you're discussing, or simply relative to the Fostoria Airport?
Your Honor, on page 4, lines 9 and 10, it's referencing the payroll and economic output for the Fostoria Metropolitan Airport.
Okay, thank you.
On page 4 of your testimony, lines 17 and 18, you talk about ODOT performing a separate and independent analysis based on the same obstruction criteria detailed in 14 CFR Part 77. Do you see that?
Yes.
So what is this separate and independent analysis you refer to?
The application is known as the 7460-1. It's a Federal Aviation Administration Notice of Proposed Construction. It's filed with the FAA. The FAA performs an analysis and issues a determination, and as is required by the revised code, we also perform an analysis independent of the FAA based on that information submitted with the 7460.
I want to give a little bit of background with respect to what this analysis involves. So if you could, this analysis starts off by determining whether or not a structure is an obstruction, correct?
That's correct.
In your definition, what is an obstruction?
An obstruction is any structure proposed or existing that exceeds the obstruction standard set forth in 14 CFR Part 77.
So if a structure is determined to be an obstruction per Part 77.17, it is necessarily an obstruction.
Correct.
And ODOT's definition of an obstruction is the same as the FAA's definition of an obstruction.
Yes.
I think you agree with me, because let me just be clear. The determination of whether or not it's an obstruction is just the first step in your process.
That's correct.
In your experience, ODOT always comes to the same conclusion with the FAA regarding whether or not a structure is an obstruction. Is that correct?
Yes.
In your testimony, you referred to ODOT working with an entity called Federal Airways and Airspace. What is Federal Airways and Airspace?
Federal Airways and Airspace is a private contractor that we utilize for the bulk of our